Hello everybody and welcome back to this tutorial, and right now all we are left to do for our SynFlooder program is to actually code it. Now in order to code it, we can just use a simple def function which we will call SynFlooder. So we can call it like this. Now what this function will take as an input will be the source and the target. Now you can also, if you want to send some certain message, you can add the load. So we can add it like this. Or let's add it as a message so you can actually know what I mean by that. This is basically the message that we sent in the previous video, which contained hello, this is a secret message. So we can actually run a SynFlooder with this actual message right here. So what we want to do in order to make a SynFlooder is actually spam every single port. Now in order to actually spam every single port, we can just use a simple for loop which will allow us to do that. So for s port. Now this s port will be the source port, or actually we don't want to loop with the source port, we want to loop with the destination port since we are sending this to the target. So what we want to do is actually for destination port of our target in range, and let's use so we don't actually crash anything, even though you can't really crash with one PC, I believe. In range 1024 to 65535. I believe that is the number of ports that there are on each PC. So we close this. For each destination port in this range, we will actually send the packet to the target. So we want to actually spam every port of the target from the 1024th port to the end. So all we have to do is do the same as in the previous video. We need the IP layer to be equal to the IP field or IP packet, where the source will be equal to source as we specified right here, even though we don't really have that actual variable yet, but we will just code it a few seconds, and the destination will be equal to the target. Oops. So destination will be equal to the target, and for the destination port in this range, we will actually send the packet for every port on the target. All we need to do right now is also code the TCP layer equals TCP. The source port will be equal, for example, to the port 4444. We want to, this is the source port, this is the port from which we are sending the packet, and the destination port will be equal to the destination port variable that we specified right here. So we close the brackets right here. We make our packet to be actual IP layer slash TCP layer. And all we have to do is send the actual packet. We are not using the send and receive function, since we don't really care about the reply of our target. We only want to spam it with packets so we can actually crash all the services running. And all we have to do is specify the source and the target and the actual message. Now in the TCP layer, we need to also add the raw layer, so we forgot about that. If we want to specify the message, which is not really needed, I just show you for the purposes. Let's call it raw layer equals raw. And the load will be equal to the message, so we can specify it like that. The load is the field in the raw layer. And here, if I'm not mistaken, we can specify it like this. So IP layer slash TCP layer slash raw layer. And all we have to do right now is run this as a while true. So while true, SynFlooder of the source, or let's call it source, target, message. And now we need those three variables. So we will use source equals raw underscore input, and we can use something like this. Oops. Enter source IP address to fake. The target will be enter target's IP address, of course. So let me just, I forgot the double quotes. Enter target's IP address. And the message will be raw underscore input use the double quotes, enter the message for TCP payload. And with this, I believe we are good to go. So let us save this. We chmod the SynFlood. So let's add it like this. We start our sniffing of the packets on Windows 10. Okay, so it started. Right now, all we want to do is run our SynFlood. Okay, so it took a little while to actually prompt us with this, not really sure why, but here it is. Enter IP address to fake. So the source IP address is the IP address, either your true IP address if you want to, or basically any IP address you want to specify. Enter target's IP address, which will be 192.168.1.5. And the enter message for TCP payload will be, for example, hello world. And as we can see, it is sending the packets. If we go right here, you can see a bunch of these packets are actually being sent, and our Windows 10 PC is being spammed with these packets. As we can see, all we can actually see are the packets coming from the 8888. So let us close this, and let us close the actual SynFlooder, since we don't really need to crash anything. Let us exit this. Let us go to our Wireshark. We can inspect some of the packets. As we can see, the actual source port is the 4444. The destination port is the port on our Windows 10 PC. So I believe the next packet will have the destination port of the actual, let me just close this, of the actual number increased by 1, so 2386. So let us check that out. Okay, so it is. So we were spamming every single port on our target PC from the source port 4444, which you can even specify to be anything else if you want to. Doesn't really matter, as you can see right here. So I shouldn't have closed the terminal. Let me just go back to my terminal. Okay, here it is. And go to my Python programs and local nano the SynFlood. You can see we specify the source port to be 4444. We specify the IP address to be 8.8.8.8, and it also has our payload with data. Let me just go down here, which is the actual hello world string that we are sending with each packet. So that would be about it for our SynFlooder. You can see we send a bunch of packets, and if you run this from multiple PCs, you can actually DDoS the server or the machine that you're targeting. So basically that would be about it for this tutorial. If you, for example, don't really want to actually send the packets to every port, you can just select it something like this. So the port equals, you want to actually specify only the port 80. So you can select the port to be 80 right here. I believe we are good to go. So, and then the port equals the port, and then you SynFlood it. So let us see how that will work. You run the synflood.py. We start once again to actually sniffing for the packets, enter IP address. Let's use 1.1.1.1. That is the IP address we want to fake. 192.168.1.5 is the IP address of our Windows 10. And we can just type here 1234. It doesn't really matter. We are sending the packets. And basically, if you were to, for example, run these packets, as you can see, they are coming at a huge rate. If you were to run this from multiple PCs and attack the destination port 80, you can actually make that host or that machine not being able to connect to the internet anymore. So let me just see. It probably won't work since we are running this only from a single PC. But if you, as I said, if you run this from multiple PCs, it will work. The target will be actually crashing, not being able to run software on any port that you are actually attacking, and not being also able to connect to the internet itself. Now, the reason behind my Google Chrome opening this slow is not really the program that we are running right here. It is actually just my PC being slow at the moment, since I'm trying to open 10 things at a time. We can see our program is still running. It prints out sent one packet each time it sends the packet. you can see I got the page cannot really open. Let's close the page and I will try to reopen it once again. Let me refresh the page since we can't really go to the internet. If I want to, for example, go to twitter.com, let's see if it can load Twitter. Okay, so it probably can. It is just doing it really slow, so sometimes you will lose connection, sometimes not. As I said, this program on one single PC is not strong enough to actually kick somebody off the internet, but 2 PCs possibly could be. So you can see it is loading, but really, really slow. We will not wait for this to finish. It doesn't even matter. Okay, so here it is. It actually finished, so let's close it. Let's close this program. And that would be all about the actual SynFlooder. It is a rather simple program. We added some of our own things to it, such as the load that says 1234 or hello world or something like that. And that would be about it for this tutorial and this program, and we will continue coding in the next lecture. So hope I see you there, and take care. Bye.